Hello, drone enthusiasts. There's not a lot of videos online about the Autel Lite Enterprise drones, so I figured I'd make a quick one. This is an Autel EVO Lite Enterprise 640T, or the thermal edition, and I'm using the standard 7-inch controller for this. This isn't so much about how to fly the drone, but how to work through the menus and the settings on it. So when you first power up the drone, it's going to go into generally a split screen view with thermal and then the color camera and then the map in the lower left. If you want to expand those views, you can do that by touching the two opposing triangles in the bottom middle of the display. That's the expansion view, so it'll go to full screen. Once you're in one of those views, if you look on the left side there, there's wide and IR. If you touch those, it will toggle in between either your color camera and then your thermal. Then when you want to go back to the split screen in the upper right of the display, you'll see two side-by-side rectangles with a box around it that goes back into split screen. Just tap that. I'll also quickly point out that in the upper corners of the display boxes, either in the top right or the top left, depending on which one you're looking at, you can change which view is in the camera. So you can change it from color, thermal, or the map display. You might have to play around with these to get them where you want them because you can't duplicate the screen. So if it's not where you want it to be, just switch them around a couple times and you'll be able to line them up properly. Just remember, and I'll talk about this later in the video, the one on the right is the one that you can unlink and zoom in and zoom out on. Otherwise, they have to go together. The left one can't be controlled independently with the zoom. So if you take a look in the lower right, you'll see the flight telemetry data. I'll just go over that real quick. ATL is your altitude, which is also your above ground level. That's the one that's important to drones, that to stay under 400 feet in most conditions. Below that one, you will see the H/S, which is your horizontal speed. That's how fast your drone is flying across the ground, either forward or backwards. It doesn't matter. It's always a positive number. VS is your vertical speed. So that's your climbing rate and how fast your drone is descending. Again, always a positive number. There's also a D symbol, which references the distance the drone is away from you. So if you launch it and you go straight up, it's going to show a small distance, but as you move it away from you, that number will increase. You'll also see a little airplane symbol that moves away from you as the drone moves away, and it also orients to the remote control. So if it's at the top of the ring, the drone should be somewhere directly in front of you, but if you spin around in a circle, which you'll see me do, the drone will move around. So if you, for some reason, lose the drone and it's behind you or whatever, you should be able to determine where it is by simply spinning the remote control and lining it up right in front of you. Also in the upper right of the controller, there's your flight speed settings, basically. Generally, it launches into standard. However, there is ludicrous mode. When you turn ludicrous mode on, your obstacle avoidance turns off, which you can see represented by the symbol. It'll go from green to red, and that symbol is in the top right. It looks like a dot with a couple of half circles around it. There is a little bit of a breeze today, but even pushing the drone probably only like 60% power forward into the wind, I'm still getting like 30 miles an hour out of it. And again, that's not topped out. That's just me kind of babying it along into the wind. So there's different settings. I'll toggle through those real quick. You can see there's smooth and a couple other ones depending on what you're flying for, what you need in your mission. And while I'm bringing the drone back here, if you look at the top, you have a few different displays up there. Your first is GNSS, or Global Navigation Satellite System. Basically just says that you're flying in a GPS-assisted environment. The rest are pretty self-explanatory. The manual flight mode just means that you're controlling the drone. You don't have it in an intelligent flight mode where it's like running a mission for you or anything else like that. You have your remote controller battery and its signal strength to the drone, the GPS signal, and how many satellites you're hooked onto at that time. Then you have the drone battery, and then again, the dot with the half circle is your obstacle avoidance. If it's green, it's on. If it's yellow, there's issues, and if it's red, it's turned off. On the left side there, you'll see that I activated the gimbal controls. So you can obviously scroll the gimbal control up and down with the wheel. However, if you tap that button, there's some presets. You can go from 0, 45 to 90. It's good practice to make sure that you're not landing with the camera lens facing down just to prevent any damage. So it comes in handy, but I generally just use the scroll wheel. So then if you tap the map in the lower left, that brings it full screen, and then you'll see some icons on the right side. There's some settings in there I would suggest you change right away. First one is going to be go from normal mode to hybrid. Hybrid is basically a Google Maps view of your flight area as opposed to just like building outlines and roads. The next thing I would suggest enabling is the flight path so that you can actually see where your drone has flown. The data is there, so you can toggle it on and off if it annoys you, but I generally just leave it on. This would probably be a good time to mention too that the controller is like a phone where you can do pinch to zoom. So if you want to do a 2 finger zoom in, 2 finger zoom out, it'll accept those commands. And what I'm showing here is the orientation lock, which is going to be your little caret symbol or triangle, whatever you want to call it. If it is an outline, it is unlocked. If it is solid, it is locked. So what that does is when it's locked, it orients the map to north, and when it's unlocked, it orients the map to the controller. So this is kind of personal preference. A lot of people get driven crazy when the map moves with the controller. So again, just kind of figure out what you like. I generally fly with it locked to north. The next icon is a point of frustration with me anyway, and Autel, if you're listening, you need to update this through your firmware. It is what the map will follow. So right now the map is following the remote control as indicated because it's got an RC symbol there and it's got the home point icon built into that. So if you tap that, you're going to get other options. For me, the only logical option is to have it follow the drone. I don't care if it knows where the remote is because I'm holding onto the remote or where the home point is because I'm probably standing right next to it. The thing that's frustrating with this is when you power down the remote and power it back on, it defaults back to the remote control for tracking, which doesn't make any sense to me. So every time you fly, you're going to have to go in there and tell it to follow the quadcopter symbol or the drone if that's what you want it to do. And I'll pop the drone back up here so that you guys can kind of see how that works in the lower left there, where for the most part, it'll start tracking the drone and follow along on the map view. And while we're flying here, it's a good time to point out the digital view box projected in front of the drone. As you can see, there's a projection on front of it. It's kind of like a yellow box. That shows the field of view of the camera of the drones as digitally represented on the map. It's a really handy feature, increases your situational awareness and just knowing what your camera is seeing and how that corresponds to the terrain that's out in front of you. So another thing that's handy to have turned on is if you go into the camera settings in the upper right, it's the camera icon with the gear on it. You can turn on some grid views. This is super handy when you are trying to correlate what you're seeing in a color camera and a thermal camera. There's a few options here. You can have a grid setting, you can have an X, and then the one with the dot and the box around it puts like a crosshairs on the screen. Later, when you're flying the drone and you're trying to investigate stuff and really narrow it in, it's really nice to be able to put those crosshairs right on something, and as you zoom in and zoom out to make sure you're looking at what you want to be looking at. So as I zoom in across the street here, you can see how having the crosshairs really helps because the thermal's not always super clear. I mentioned earlier about linking and unlinking the cameras. On the right side of the screen, there's a chain link. It looks like two chain links. If you touch that, you can link the cameras together or unlink them, but you can only control the zoom independently on the right side. If they're linked, it'll zoom in on both sides, but if you unlink them, you can only control zoom on the right side. All right, now that I got the drone back on the ground, I'll show you the menu in the upper right. So you can edit the quick access icons. So once you're in there, you hit the pencil and paper icon, which is the edit feature, and you literally just tap the ones that you want to add to the quick access across the top. If it's on the quick access across the top, you don't want it there anymore, just tap it and it goes back into the menu on the right side. So the icons that you put up there for quick access, it's all going to be personal preference. The ones I generally have up there are record, which is a screen recording feature. It records everything as you see on the screen. Aux light, recog, and tripod mode, which I'll get into a little bit later. But again, personal preference, kind of figure those out as you go. All right, the time has come. Let's start talking about thermal. First thing I want to point out is the thermal isn't magic. So it basically is very dependent on the temperature differences in the surface. and between the several objects that are down there. So if you get a day like I'm flying today, where it's 60, 65 degrees and sunny out, you're not going to have a lot of temperature difference in the color palette that you're seeing through the thermal camera. As you can see, I'm kind of scrolling through the color palettes right now. The icon to get to that looks like a stacked deck of cards in the upper right of the screen. And there's a bunch to choose from. You can scroll back and forth. The one that I generally use is lava, and that's just because it kind of represents the video as a black and white. And then things with hot thermals glow bright red, so it works really well for my needs. You'll also see the letters FFC, which is flat field calibration. That's just kind of like a reboot of the thermal and kind of levels everything back out. So if you're getting wonky readings, go ahead and click that button. So the other thing that's really important is your range for thermals. So by default, it's generally 32 to 1022, and you can see those numbers on the screen there. If you tap those numbers, it will toggle in between 4 to 302 or 32 to 1032, and that's the temperature spread that you're expecting the thermal to encounter. So the narrower that you can put it, the better, because that will allow your color palette that you've selected to shift the most and highlight those areas of heat for you. So as you can see with that widespread, it was pretty grayed out, and you're probably thinking, "Wow, this thermal kind of sucks." But it was just not a great thermal day. It was sunny out. It was 65 to 70 degrees, and just not optimal conditions. So here's some videos of some deer recoveries that I did and some scouting that I did. And as you can see, if you get a cooler morning or a cooler evening, the deer really pop out, or heat signatures in general really pop out. It's just a matter of understanding that you're looking at temperature differences, and when the sun gets out and heats everything up, there's not a lot of temperature differences. So you just got to understand the thermal is not magic, and you have to use it as it's intended to see the differences in temperature. So in this video, you can see it was flown in the morning, and the sun is just popping up, and it's starting to heat up some of the tree surfaces there. So those are glowing red, but as you can see, just doing a flyover, you can really pop those heat signatures out. In this case, it was a deer. So this kind of real world situation where I'm flying along looking for deer, and you can see how well they stand out when you have the right thermal conditions. And then every once in a while you get perfect thermal conditions, where you can see in this video where I'm doing a flyover and you can't really see anything in the shrubs with the trees, but man, does that thermal pop. So another thing that you can do is you can go into those camera settings again, and then the more options, and you can turn on temperature measurements. So this is more for like an industrial use, like if you're looking at like something that you need a temperature on, maybe an air conditioning unit on a roof or something like that. But you can turn on temperature measurements. So if you tap the screen, you can see a point measurement. And then if you press and hold, it'll actually pop a box on there, and it'll give you a high, low, and average within that box. So, this kind of shows the difference between the parking lot and then obviously the grass. So the parking lot holds heat, so it's obviously hotter and shows that on the thermal, and then the grass doesn't hold the heat as well because the wind blows through it, and it's obviously cooler. So this kind of has like a specific use for it if you're doing industrial stuff. I don't use it that often, but it is a feature that the drone does, so kind of put that in there so you guys know about it. From here, we can jump into some of the AI features with the target recognition. So you'll go into the menu in the upper right corner and then scroll down to where it says settings. Within the user services and settings sections at the bottom. It's probably important to point out that this is also how you gain access to your return to home altitude and a few other settings that are kind of critical to the device. If you look at the right side, you can see the different types of menus that you're adjusting and how they relate to the device. So you can just kind of go through those and adjust as needed. So you go all the way to the bottom to the three dots or the more menu, and then from there you'll see target recognition settings. That's where you'll be able to adjust and turn on and off your different types of AI recognition, such as human, boat, smoke, fire, things of that nature. So now we're flying again, and you can kind of see how that works. With the target recognition, I did want to point out that it's all or nothing. So if you enable everything and you turn it on from the quick access menu, you're going to get alerts for everything. You can't toggle them on and off individually from that. You have to do it from this deeper setting menu. Here's a recording that I did earlier in kind of low light conditions. You can see it does a pretty good job. In this video, it's also showing the lat and long because I have the stamps and subtitles enabled, and that overlays the lat long of the recognized targets. And then here's another quick video just showing how that works. As you can see, the closer you're zoomed in, obviously, it is able to pick out cars independently, and it's a little bit more accurate. The stamps and subtitles on that previous kind of nighttime video is also how I got the lat and long as well as the MSL displayed on the screen. You just got to enable that. And in this last video, I've got tripod mode enabled. As you can see in the upper left, it's one of the smart flight features. So basically what this does is it picks out targets like cars and then lets you focus in on those, which is really helpful. So it will drop a dot on what it recognizes as a target. You simply tap on the screen and then it locks into that. So you can fly the drone around, and it basically keeps the drone facing at that. So if you go up, go down, fly left, fly right, it keeps that centered, and it also keeps it centered when you zoomed. So it acts very similar to like a point of interest, but you can move this drone with this one, and the target can move, and the drone will follow it with the camera while you're flying. And that's all I got for you guys today. I'll try and produce some more videos and see what happens, but thanks for watching.